Jason Statham isn't done keeping the hive. And if the early details surrounding The Beekeeper 2 are any indication, the sequel isn't just going to match the original, it's being built to surpass it in every way that matters. When The Beekeeper landed in theaters in January 2024, it arrived without the kind of cultural fanfare that typically surrounds a blockbuster. There were no sprawling cinematic universe connections, no decades of source material to lean on, and no guaranteed audience waiting with built-up loyalty. What the film had was Jason Statham, a tight revenge premise, and a quietly fascinating mythology buried beneath the surface. That turned out to be more than enough. The movie pulled in roughly $162 million at the worldwide box office, a number that would be considered impressive for any film, but was downright remarkable for a mid-budget action thriller with no franchise pedigree behind it. Critics noted its tonal overlap with John Wick's Secret Society world and the moral conviction at the heart of the Equalizer series, but The Beekeeper carved out its own identity with a stripped-down brutality and a main character who operated not out of grief or obligation, but out of something closer to sacred duty. Adam Clay, the character Statham brought to life, was not a conventional action hero. He didn't quip. He didn't hesitate. He moved through the world like a force of nature wearing a beekeeper's suit, guided by a code so deeply embedded in him that it bordered on ideology. The film revealed that Clay was once part of a covert program known simply as the Beekeepers, a shadow organization of elite operatives whose existence most of the government either didn't know about or chose to ignore. The concept was introduced carefully, almost cautiously, as though the filmmakers knew they were sitting on something worth protecting. That restraint, it turns out, was strategic, because now, with the sequel officially in motion, that mythology is finally going to get room to breathe. Production on The Beekeeper 2 began on the 26th of September 2026, and the shoot moved through its schedule with the kind of efficiency that suggests a crew working with both clarity of vision and serious momentum. Director Timothy Ajanto, who took over the chair for this installment, confirmed on social media that principal photography wrapped on the 29th of November 2026, officially moving the project into post-production. Ajanto brings a genuinely distinct sensibility to the material. His background in international action cinema has earned him a reputation for sequences that are not just violent, but inventively violent, fights that have architecture, choreography that tells its own story within a story. For a franchise built on the visceral satisfaction of watching one impossibly capable man dismantle an entire criminal network with his bare hands, that's exactly the kind of directorial instinct the sequel needs. The script for this chapter comes from Umera Alim, who stepped in to replace Kurt Wimmer, the writer behind the original film. The transition signals that the studio is interested in pushing the story into genuinely new territory, rather than simply repeating the formula that worked the first time around. A new writer means new angles, new character motivations, and potentially a deeper excavation of the Beekeeper organization that audiences have been quietly hungry for since the credits rolled on the first movie. Whether that means a clearer look at the program's history, its chain of command, or the existence of other operatives like Clay remains to be seen. But the possibilities are exactly what make the sequel feel genuinely exciting, rather than like a contractual obligation. Among the returning cast, one name carries particular weight. Jeremy Irons is set to reprise his role as Wallace Westfield, the former CIA director who, in the first film, represented one of the few people in the story who truly understood what Adam Clay was. While other characters reacted to Clay with confusion, disbelief, or terror, Westfield responded with the quiet recognition of a man who had spent his career in rooms where decisions like Clay were made. By the time of the original story, Westfield had transitioned out of government work and into the private sector, serving as head of security at Danforth Enterprises, a tech company tangled up with the corrupt son of the sitting U.S. president. His intelligence background gave him a perspective the other characters lacked. He knew that Clay wasn't a vigilante operating on impulse. He was a product of a system, trained with precision, deployed with purpose, and nearly impossible to stop once a target had been designated. Bringing Irons back is a decision that works on multiple levels. There is the straightforward narrative continuity. Westfield's knowledge of the Beekeepers makes him a natural figure for a story that seems poised to expand the organization's mythology. But there is also the question of what his presence does for the tone. Irons is an Academy Award winner, recognized for his performance in Reversal of Fortune, and has spent decades navigating a career that stretches from intimate prestige dramas to massive studio productions. He has played kings, villains, scholars, and monsters. He brings a theatrical weight to every line he delivers, a quality that can either elevate a film or become its most self-aware element, depending on how well the material supports him. In The Beekeeper, the material supported him. Audiences responded, critics noted his contribution, and the film ended up earning a strong audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, a platform where action films of this type often struggle to find appreciation. That positive reception almost certainly played a role in his willingness to return. The expanded cast for the sequel also includes Yara Shahidi, Emmy Raver Lampman, Bobby Naderi, Gemma Redgrave, Paloma Clementi, and Adam Copeland, a lineup that suggests the sequel is widening its scope considerably. Each of these performers brings a different energy to the mix, and their collective presence points toward a story with more moving parts, more competing agendas, and more characters capable of operating at the level the narrative demands. Whether any of them are fellow beekeepers, government operatives, or new antagonists is information the production has kept tightly under wraps, which only adds to the anticipation. What remains at the core of all of it, through every casting announcement and production update, is Statham himself. Adam Clay is not a character who needs a complicated origin story or an emotional backstory delivered through flashbacks. His appeal is rooted in something simpler and more primal. A man who has chosen a side, who will not be moved from it, and who has the skills to make that choice mean something. In a film landscape that often overcomplicates its heroes with trauma and moral ambiguity, Clay's straightforwardness is almost radical. He sees wrong. He corrects it. He disappears back into the quiet life he has built around himself, tending to something as unhurried and purposeful as a beehive, until the next time the world forces his hand. The Beekeeper 2 now sits in post-production, with no official release date announced as of yet. But the pieces are in place, the camera has already rolled, and the story of Adam Clay is not finished. Now it's your turn, do you think? The Beekeeper 2 can top the original, or does the first film's raw simplicity make it impossible to beat? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay ahead of every update on this sequel and everything else coming out of Hollywood, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a thing.